Welcome to the program. I am Okpeyemi Owusheni. We begin with business news. The Central Bank of Nigeria says it has temporarily withdrawn the monetary, credit, foreign trade and exchange policy guidelines for fiscal years 2024 to 2025 document published on September 17, 2024. It said the revocation of the document is to minimize risk of any further misinterpretation or resulting in confusion among stakeholders. It discloses in a new statement published on its website on September 20th. The new release was, however, not signed by any CBN official. The Nigerian rail system generated 1.69 billion in revenue from passengers in the second quarter of 2024, reflecting a 53.14% increase compared to the 1.10 billion naira recorded in the same period of 2023. This data was disclosed by the National Bureau of Statistics in its report released on September 19th. According to the report, a total of 689.263 passengers traveled by road in the second quarter, representing a growth rate of 45.38% when compared to the 474,117 passengers in the corresponding quarter of 2023. The volume of goods transported via rail also saw a significant increase, with 143,759 tons passed in the second quarter of 2024, up from 56,936 tons in the second quarter of 2023. We'll go on a break now and be back with more stories in the corporate world. Welcome back. Multinational consumer goods company PZ Cussons says it has commenced plans to sell its African subsidiaries to any interested buyer. The parent company of PZ Cussons Nigeria said it is looking at a partial or full sale to mitigate the company's exposure to fluctuation in the naira, which has devalued by over 70%. The company discloses in its preliminary results published on its website for the year ended May 31st, 2024. According to the consumer goods manufacturer, the board has also received multiple interests regarding the sale of its African business. The firm suffered a 74.14 billion loss in the second quarter of 2024. Still in the corporate world, Nigerian Breweries PLC has announced a plan to raise 599 billion naira through a rights issue on the Nigerian Exchange Limited in an effort to address overdue foreign exchange payables and reduce its local debt burden. This comes after the company posted a loss of 85.3 billion naira after tax in the first half of 2024, attributing the financial downturn to rising inflation, FX costs, operational expenses, and general economic challenges. The rights issue, which commenced on September 2nd and will close on October 11th, offers shareholders the opportunity to purchase 22.607 billion ordinary shares at 50k each, priced at 26 naira 50 kobo per share. Shareholders are also entitled to buy 11 new shares for every 5 held as of July 12, 2024.
In the face of ongoing economic challenges, NGX acknowledges the commendable efforts of Nigerian Breweries PLC's board and management enhancing operations, promoting business continuity, and restoring investor confidence.
Rights issue will really strengthen the balance sheet. Currently, because of the situation in Nigeria and because of the devaluation, we have an FX debt and a Naira debt. Well, with this rights issue, we can fully eliminate the overdue FX debt. So when there is a further devaluation, it will not impact our P&L because of revaluation losses. On the other end, also with what we will get additional, we can lower our Naira debt and therefore also lower the interest expense on our P&L.
We'll take a break now, but when Money Matter returns, we'll be discussing vegetables going into extinction. I'll bring you details of this after this break. Welcome back. Today we are diving into a pressing issue that affects our culinary heritage and agricultural diversity, the decline of traditional vegetable varieties in Nigeria. Now, as globalization and modern farming techniques take center stage, many traditional vegetable varieties are facing extinction or becoming increasingly scarce. This loss not only threatens biodiversity, but also jeopardizes the cultural practices and nutritional benefit that these vegetables provide. Some of these plants, once staple in local diet, are now hard to find, and their disappearance has significant implications for food security and local economies. As many of those valuable crops face extinction or become increasingly difficult to find, it is crucial to understand the challenges they encounter and the steps we can take to revive them. Today, we will explore the factors contributing to the decline of traditional vegetables, identify those at risk, and discuss the importance of preserving our agricultural heritage. We'll also delve into effective agricultural practices for sustaining these crops and the impacts their scarcity has on local economies and the communities. Now, let's discuss this further. Agro entrepreneur Julius Oga now joins me on the program. Thank you for your time, Mr. Oga. Now, quite a number of traditional vegetables are currently facing extinction or are becoming increasingly difficult to find in Nigeria. Now, in your opinion, what would you say are the primary factors contributing to this decline? Are these factors environmental, are they cultural, or economic in nature?
All right. Thank you for having me, Opeyemi. Please permit me to broaden the scope of the discussion. It is not just vegetables that are going out of extinctions. So we should take it more seriously when naturalists, when conservationists, when environmentalists tell us that the world is losing biodiversity, be it the aqua ecosystem, be it the marine ecosystem, be it the terrestrial ecosystem. We are losing biodiversity to a far greater extent than we care to know. And now that it is even affecting food, it is a very serious matter. And I want to thank you for bringing up this discussion. You're not just playing the role as a media setting agenda. You are bringing up something that is very critical and fundamental to human survival in the next decades or centuries to come. We have lost a lot of biodiversity. And we are losing vegetables. I know quite a number of vegetables that we didn't used to cultivate. We don't cultivate them. They just grow naturally. But they are, we feed on them. When they grow naturally, we tend them, we feed on them. And since the beginning of, like, let me see, going back like the last 10 years, I'm talking, when I say we, I'm referring to me and the community from where I come, because I live consciously and I take note of these things. Many of these vegetables we no longer find. I can't mention names in English because most of them are not, are not the usually known varieties of vegetables that are classified and given names. They are native to some communities and people no longer find them. This is a very serious matter because in the course of time, we're losing in the variety of things that we have to eat, not just vegetables, but also herbs, things that are useful to our health, but that we can no longer find, or when you find them in the market, they look very miserable. They've been in transit for so long. People, you now have to travel. There is this spicy vegetable that the Igbos call uziza. In English, they translate it to the name to hot leaf. The seeds are also used as a spice and as a medicinal additive. There is this vegetable that Yoruba is called ewedu. Ewedu grows naturally in many places where I know. I don't know if they cultivate it there in the West. I know that where I have lived, once you just cultivate a plot of land and the rain starts falling and you start planting, these things also start germinating naturally by themselves. And then they are there and available for people to use. But these days, you hardly find them. And like I said, when they come to the market, they're so miserly, so miserable, and they are also so expensive to get. So those who get these things now have to travel further and further into the forest. There's a herbal vegetable in Calabar that is called editan, and there's another that is called afang. It's gotten from the heart of the rainforest. Now people, there's also this one they used to wrap agidi or moi moi, these leaves. People, they are sourced from the heart of the rainforest. Now people have to, go deeper into more remote places in order to get them. So it shows that our activities as human beings, we're taking too many things for granted. The way we live, we're living dangerously. And when we don't give a damn to these things because it appears as if we can eat products that are sold in shops, we can buy products that we call food that are actually not food in a natural manner of speaking, but are just packaged, manufactured products that we can eat. Because we are finding these things, we're taking it for granted that we'll continue to live like this. But let us not forget that it is perhaps the reason why we're having much higher incidences of diseases, the prevalence of conditions that were not common to us becoming more and more common, and even visible in children. So we should stop this. This really is a serious subject. Many things are getting lost before our very eyes, not just vegetables, not just herbs, but also animals, also marine life. I mean, you find a 20-year-old now who doesn't know what an antelope looks like. So it's really a serious thing when conservationists tell us that we're losing biodiversity. It's not a joke. It's a serious thing.
Well, can you identify some of the traditional vegetables that have become extinct or facing threat of extinction?
I did mention some as in answering your first question. I did mention, like I said, because they are not classified by science, they don't have English names, and I don't care to know. But because I know some of these vegetables and they are native to me, I can give you the names by which we call them locally. I mentioned afang and editan from Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, the riverine areas. I mentioned Ewedu, which is a very common staple among the Yorubas. I mentioned Uziza among the Igbos, which is also a forest herb, a climbing plant. Now, when we lose forests, when we cut down trees, and when we do the kind of agricultural practices that are becoming predominant, that we're tending towards monocropping and the acceptance of so-called GMOs, we're losing biodiversity because of these things. So there are so many others that, like I said, are not identified. So I won't go into mentioning those we already know, which are commonplace. We know those ones and they remain commonplace and they remain available because they have commercial value. Those who cultivate them sell them. They are very popular and generally acceptable. But we have those special ones that are made into delicacies that are unique to some groups of people and that somehow have even acquired, broader acceptance across because of the way we live now, cross marriages, migration, and all of that. They become accepted across wider landscapes and the wider society. Many of them, before you see them in the market, you have to walk around the market, and where you find them, like I said, they are a sorry sight. They've been there for they've traveled a long way to come to the point you've found them, and people just try to manage what they can find. But like I said, many of them I know I cannot mention because they've not been classified and given names in science.
Now that we've discussed the vegetables facing extinction, why do you believe it is essential to preserve and revive these traditional vegetables? And then that's beyond cultural significance. And what are the nutritional and ecological benefits of maintaining this diversity in our agricultural practices?
Wow, it's written in the wind. I think it's hidden in plain sight. It's like preservation. Oh, let me just give you a practical and rudimentary example. You live in a house, let's say it's a rented apartment, and the window breaks, you don't fix it, the door breaks, you don't fix it, the ceiling is caving in, you don't fix it. You're the one who is endangered. So in order to preserve yourself, you have to do those little maintenances. So in order to preserve the human species itself in health and well-being, we should stop joking with with nature. We should stop joking with the environment. We should stop taking things for granted. Humanity is taking so much for granted. And that's why we think because we can eat noodles, because we can eat spaghetti, because we can eat things we import, because we can eat canned mushrooms, which a lot of the times are not even very healthy for consumptions. Because we can eat those things, we take it for granted that they will be there forever. But they are also derived from something, by the way. So it is good for us to preserve what nature has given us. It's a gift, just like I used the crude example of you and your habitation, or in fact, your office. If your office door is broken and you just leave it open and you go home, you have not preserved your equipment. Someone comes in there and moves them at night. But in terms of human lives, the danger is that you are going to find some of those things were useful for not just for their ability as food, but for the fact that they have medicinal value. They give you minerals, they give you vitamins, they give you things you don't know, they provide variety. So they give you a wide range of choices to choose from when you need to prepare a meal. Now you don't have them available and you become dependent on just the few that are available or that farmers grow because they have commercial value. Now those that the farmers grow and that you have become used to, they come with added wahala for you. I beg your pardon to use that word. They come with added trouble. They are grown with fertilizers, they are grown with chemicals, and you become predisposed to ailments that you never knew before. So if you preserve what you have, which is a gift to you from creation, if you can preserve and maintain it and continue to use it gratefully, you are keeping yourself safe. If you're not, you're endangering yourself. That's why I said we are taking things for granted. We are living in the presence of climate change, and these are manifestations of climate change. These are manifestations of biodiversity loss. And because some of these things are also food to animals, and when animals don't find them to live on, they get extinct. So we're living dangerously. And so in order to preserve ourselves, we have to preserve the ecosystem.
Well, we'll go on a short break now. The program will continue shortly. Welcome back. We are still discussing traditional vegetables facing extinction, and agro entrepreneur Julius Oga is still our guest on the program. Thank you for staying with us on the program, Mr. Oga. Now, are there specific agricultural techniques or practices that you believe can help in the revival and sustainable growth of these traditional vegetables?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, the agricultural practices, some of the vegetables you mentioned that I referenced in my first response, that I know grow naturally, they are not planted. I've seen a weedu grow naturally in my own farm without the seeds being broadcast. I've seen, so some of these things have been there, but because of the manner in which today we cultivate the land, we over-cultivate, we use excess chemicals, there is bush burning, there's climate change. So the chemicals we use, for instance, the herbicides we use to kill grass, also kills these edible plants I am talking about. So when you kill those plants and they don't flower to reproduce, you've lost that species for good. Because plants thrive on their seeds. And you kill the plant, you killed it. I'm not saying you didn't harvest to preserve the seeds before you killed it. You killed it with chemicals. And so we're tending towards what the industrial world is encouraging us to begin to eat GMOs. GMOs are pushing us towards monocropping. Monocropping is like you just plant maize or you just plant rice. The chemical, the herbicide you use can preserve your maize and can preserve your rice, but kills every other thing. We are no longer using mixed cropping, which our parents still do in the villages and are gradually losing ground too. We're no longer doing mixed cropping, which allowed you to grow yam, grow corn, grow cassava, grow groundnuts, and other legumes side by side. We're going towards, okay, if it is maize, I'll buy my seeds at this uh, uh, I'll buy my seeds, I'll plant, I'll eat. Next year, I'll buy my seeds again. We're tending towards monocropping. So we're losing the varieties that we have. So so over cultivation of land, land degradation, loss of ecosystems, and all of this is contributing to the loss of these edible plants. And like I said, we're taking it for granted, but we suffer the consequences in the long run.
Well, let's discuss the impact. What would you say the impact of the scarcity of traditional vegetables? What impact do you think it has on local economies and communities as well?
Quite negative. There's no doubt about it. Negative impacts is what we have, because these vegetables will serve some people as a means of earning income. I know when, as young people in the villages, young men and young women will forage the forests to harvest some of these vegetables and edible plants for sale. The moi leaves I referred to earlier that is used to wrap agidi, we could just get this by the water side. We could just go to the river side, to a swampy area, and you plug as many as you want. On the market day, you're going to the market and you're going to get yourself some cool, money for pocket money or for whatever purpose it serves. That's just speaking basically. The larger impact of this is difficult to quantify. The larger economic impact of what we are suffering, I mean, the loss of these species is difficult to quantify. And I started by saying I was going to broaden the scope of this. We used to, I come from a mountainous area, and we just used to walk down to the foot of the mountain, and you get clean, pure, natural spring water from the mountain, goggling from the base of stones. We used to have freshwater crabs. All of this because we still lived a little bit naturally at the time. For some time now, in those villages I'm talking about, why you find people drinking sachet water that is called pure water, that is not really pure, because the process of packaging it, processing and getting it to the market, we all know, you and I know how it is in our economy. It's not what you think. So the people are now, they have lost water they used to get for free. For now, water they have to buy. They lost water that you could call mineral water, because it came from the earth. It contained radiations, it contained, properties. It contained few impurities, if any. They've lost that. They're using their money now to buy contaminated water that is packed for them. This is, if you do the economics of scale, you know what I'm talking about. If you were getting something for free and you now have to pay for it, you know what I'm talking about. You're spending on something that otherwise would have been unnecessary. So the health implications are also there to be counted. So we've lost those things. We're now buying food. We're buying things from the market that are poisoned. You get, and so the multiplying effect is that you come down with diseases that were avoidable in the first instance. So who's losing? It is us. It is us. Whether it be by health or whether it be monetarily or by any other means. We're shooting ourselves in the foot. If we continue to think we can take things for granted and continue to live, it will come back heavily on us, as we can already see. As you can already see.
Mr. Oga, just before I let you go, for farmers interested in cultivating endangered or traditional vegetables, what advice would you offer? What steps do you think they should take to ensure successful growth and integration into their farming practices?
Well, like I started off by telling you, some of them, most of them, to start with, were just plants. When human being lives naturally, they were able to identify edible plants from out of nature. So they didn't even have to cultivate them until they discovered that some could be sold, and they began to mass produce those that could be sold. The best way to recover our ecosystem is to go back and be careful about what we do in nature. We have to be careful. We stop taking things for granted. The rivers are drying up. The springs are drying up. Everything, the animals that used to, move these seeds from one corner to the other, so that by the time you clear that field, the seed is already there on the ground. It sprouts by itself. We've killed out a lot of them. The birds, everything lives. We are mutually interdependent in nature. There is this what's that they call it in biology again? I've forgotten the term, please forgive me. But this mutual interdependency, that we all benefit from each other. The poo dropped by an animal, the droppings of an animal forms manure for the earth and for the plant.
Well, agro entrepreneur Julius Oga, thank you for speaking to us on the program. That's all we have on this episode of the program. Many thanks for watching. I'm Okpeyemi Owoshieni. See you next time.